Hi, this is chapter 16 of NCERT Reader, Digestion and Absorption. Let's study about the components of food. What are the components of the food we digest? These are the components we must digest. One is carbohydrate, the second is protein, third one is fat. We also must digest nucleic acids which are present in the food item. Why should we digest? Because these molecules are insoluble. They are large in size, so they are complex. Being complex and insoluble, the body cannot absorb it. So these complex insoluble molecules are converted into simple soluble molecules. And this process of converting insoluble complex molecule to simple soluble molecule is called digestion. We also have other components of diet such as vitamins, mineral ions, water, right? But we don't digest them. The reason? They are in simple form, they are in soluble form. So no need to digest, they are directly absorbed. There is another component known as fiber or it's also called as roughage, right? That's an H. Roughage we cannot digest because we don't have any enzymes to digest. We're going to study the composition of each of these complex molecules so that the lesson becomes easy for you, right? Let's start with carbohydrates. As the name goes, it's made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, right? These are the chemical elements, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. There are three types of carbohydrate. One is called monosaccharide. This is the simplest form of carbohydrate. So during digestion, all carbohydrates are digested to monosaccharide. This is known as the disaccharide. And the third one is called polysaccharide. Right? Poly means many, di means two, mono means one. This is the simple form. Two monosaccharides. Let's say that this is a monosaccharide. When two of them combine together, that's called a disaccharide. When many such monosaccharides, thousands of them, when they join together, like n number, it forms a polymer. So it's known as polysaccharide. What are the monosaccharides we have in our diet? The first one is glucose. Another one is fructose. Okay, it's called fructose. And the third one is called galactose. These are the three monosaccharides. The disaccharides are made up of these three monosaccharides. For example, when two glucose molecules, when they combine together, you get maltose. When a glucose react with fructose, that forms sucrose, the sugar cane sugar we use at home. And when a glucose react with galactose, this one galactose, that forms lactose, the milk sugar, right? When we study the lesson, we'll find that all the enzymes are named after their substrate. For example, maltase, it will digest maltose to glucose and glucose. Sucrase digest sucrose to glucose and fructose. Lactase, ACE stands for the name of the enzyme. So it's easy to name the enzyme if you know the substrate, which is these molecules. Lactase digests lactose into glucose and galactose. Look at the polysaccharide. The first polysaccharide is called starch, which you find in plants. Plants contain starch. In animals you find glycogen. Both are made up of same monosaccharide, okay, glucose. And the last one is cellulose, or the fiber which we were talking here, the fiber which we don't digest. Even that's made up of glucose. And these are the different forms of carbohydrates, right? Let's study about the second component of the food, which is known as the protein. That's a protein. So Here you can see the protein. Proteins are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. This is only in protein, the nitrogen. The smallest unit is known as amino acid. Let's say these are amino acids. The different types of amino acids. When these amino acids join together, you get chains of amino acid. They call it like polypeptide. These are polypeptides. Okay. In our cell, these polypeptides fold up and get specific shape. When they get a specific shape, we call this complex molecule a protein. We consume protein in the form of chicken, meat, or plant protein. When you consume the protein, what happens to the protein? The protein is digested back to shorter pieces. Let's say this is the digestion happening. When digestion happens, you can see it's broken down into pieces of protein with different number of amino acid, and they are usually known as peptones, or they are known as proteoses, right? These short pieces, and later they are turned by enzymes into shorter ones called dipeptides. Dipeptides are ultimately digested by enzymes to amino acids. So those are the amino acids. So amino acids form polypeptide. Polypeptide has specific number of amino acids and specific type of amino acids, and that's folded up and formed and turned into a protein. So when we eat the protein, the same protein is randomly broken down by the enzymes. Those enzymes, the first step, break it down into shorter pieces, and these short pieces are known as like proteoses or peptones, and those short pieces are again digested into dipeptides, right? The dipeptides are turned into amino. The next component of our diet is fat. Fat is made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and a molecule of fat has, if you look at a single molecule of fat, it has one glycerol plus 3 fatty acids, right? I'm going to draw this typical triglyceride. If you draw the triglyceride, this is the glycerol. That's a glycerol. On the glycerol, you find fatty acids. Those are the fatty acids. This is the smallest unit of fat, or 1 unit of fat. During digestion, what exactly happens? They call this triglyceride. Means the glycerol with 3 fatty acids. When we digest it, the enzymes break it down into diglyceride. It's a diglyceride. Diglyceride. Tri means 3. Di means 2. Diglyceride has 2 fatty acids. That means 1 fatty acid becomes free. In the next step, it's broken down into 2 free fatty acids and 1 monoglyceride. This is called monoglyceride. In the next step, it's converted to a glycerol, that's a glycerol, and the 3 free fatty acids. This is how we digest the fat, right? And it's done by different enzymes present in the small intestine. The triglyceride is turned into diglyceride by removing 1 molecule of fatty acids. Next one is turned into mono, means 1. Di means 2. And at last you get free molecules of fatty acids and the glycerol. So that's the digestion of the fat. Let's study about the DNA now. The DNA, if you talk about DNA, the DNA is made up of the DNA and RNA are together known as nucleic acids. Right? So what are the two nucleic acids we have? There are two nucleic acids. One is called DNA and second is called RNA. When we consume the food, we consume cells. The food is made up of cells. If you look at all forms of food, we get the food from the plants. And plants contain, animals contain cells. And those cells contain nucleus. Nucleus has nucleic acids. So nucleic acids are molecules inside the nucleus. When you digest the cell and the nucleus, the DNA and RNA comes out. What are they made up of? They are made up of nucleotides. What's a nucleotide made up of? Nucleotide is made up of nucleoside. That's a nucleoside. So if I draw the shape of a nucleotide, it looks like this. A typical nucleotide has a sugar, it has a phosphate, and here you find something called nitrogen base. It's called nitrogen base, right? Nitrogen base can be A, C, T, or G. There's 4 different nitrogen bases. That's a nucleotide. But what's a nucleoside? Nucleoside has a sugar and it has one of these nitrogen bases, but there's no phosphate. Without phosphate, it's known as nucleoside. And nucleoside is made up of the sugar, one sugar, and one of the nitrogen bases, and phosphate, right? And nitrogen base and the sugar together form nucleoside. And when phosphate combines with nucleoside, you get a nucleotide, right? So this is how the nucleic acids are organized. We digest the nucleotides, so the DNA and RNA, using these enzymes. So what's the name of the enzyme here? Just add A's. When you put A's here, you get nucleotidase. And if it's nucleoside, we call it nucleosidase, which digests nucleosides to sugar, nitrogen base, and the phosphate, right? So this is how we digest the nucleotides and nucleosides. Thank you.